We welcome you into the JaxUSL report, along with Mauricio Ruiz, who makes his triumphant return to the desk here this week. I'm Cole Pepper. We'll be joined by Becky Berleigh here in just a moment. We have a lot to talk about in the USL Championship and, of course, the Women's World Cup, which saw the United States knocked out in the round of 16, the earliest ever departure from the Women's World Cup for the U.S. in penalty kick shootouts. And Mauricio, this was a thrilling game, but a tough one to watch, but it has been the talk of the soccer world. And we're going to show you here. Take a look here in the upper left-hand corner of your screen. That is how close the final penalty kick from Sweden was to not being in. Whole ball has to be over the entire line. You can just see one little pixel there of teal in between the ball and the line. That's how close the United States was to at least have another shot in the shootout.
Yeah, love it or hate it, but technology in this case actually ended the game. There's a lot of discussion around it, but how many games going backwards would have been changed of the outcome based on not having technology or having technology? But as you mentioned, I think the expectation was high. Earliest finish in World Cup history. I don't think we ever finished lower than third place. So certainly a disappointment for this World Cup, but a lot of things to learn from.
And let's bring in Becky Berleigh to get her perspective on this as well, the three-time national championship winning coach. Becky, what was your takeaway from the United States performance here in this World Cup?
Well, I think it wasn't the issue of the talent of the team that we had. I think it was the issue of how do you connect all those pieces together? And that was a hard job. I mean, I know Vlatko's gotten a lot of criticism, but at the same time, I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches, but that doesn't make the problem any easier when you're trying to fit pieces together. I think the biggest example of that is probably the front line when you've got like someone like Sophia Smith, who probably will become a 9, and she's having to play out wide because Alex is occupying the 9, and Alex is at the height of her career, so you can't really take her out of the lineup. I mean, it was a dilemma all the way around, and I think that's kind of what we saw.
So, Becky, do you think, talking about Vlatko a little bit and his style, I mean, there's a lot of criticism on his early substitutions or the fact that he didn't go into the subs a whole lot. Do you think that early, the first round games had a lot to do with kind of how we responded and behaved here in the knockout stages?
Oh, well, for sure. I think that, when you have a game that's like Vietnam, for example, was 3-0, okay, feeling like kind of comfortable, but that was it. There was no other comfortable game. And so the opportunity to play more people, which was a huge part of the US's dominance, is our depth. But when you don't get to your depth, that really never became a factor.
Becky, did you see this coming at all?
I think everybody was a little worried. I went to the Euros last year and I saw those European teams and I'm like, wow, like there's some really stiff competition heading our way for this World Cup. I don't think I saw all the other things that came with this World Cup. Some of the emerging nations and some of the first timers there being as successful as they were.
It has been a wild tournament, there's no doubt about that. And of course, Mauricio, finishing was a big issue for the United States throughout the whole tournament. A lot of chances, just couldn't find the net.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, we had Sophia Smith, Rodman, Morgan at the top of her career, Lindsay Horan coming in late. It wasn't like you didn't have finishing product or finishing players that could finish it. Maybe it was this, they weren't in sync. The timing of it wasn't there because players were potentially playing a little bit out of position. But in this game against Sweden, the chances were there. In the previous game against the Netherlands and against Portugal, not tons of chances. It's still enough to put it away. But I mean, the Sweden game, you couldn't argue on the chances created in the game. So a bit of unluck and a great game from the Swedish goalkeeper as well.
No doubt about that. Becky, what do you think the lasting impact will be from this tournament?
I think one of the things that everyone's going to take a really hard look at is the pathway. You've heard a lot of talk about that already. And I think that's there's some excitement about that too, because that's where something like JaxUSL comes into the mix in a very important way to create a different pathway than what we have had in the past, which was mainly the college route, then pro. And so I think we're going to see more people taking that direct route.
All right, who do you favor to win the World Cup now, Mauricio?
Favorite, I think I would go with England. But I would love to see Jamaica get as far as a Final Four. I think that would be an amazing story.
Becky, how about you?
Ooh, I'm going Japan. I am so impressed with their malleability in terms of the way that they play, because you see them play different ways, not only in this World Cup, but in past World Cups. Their ability to counterattack is outrageous. I like England too. That was one of the teams that really impressed me at last year's Euros. But man, I don't think anything's off the table right now.
When England's getting Kelly Smith back as well, So hopefully we'll see kind of how she gets used going forward into the knockout games.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot to watch here over the next couple of days as we get ready for the round of 8, then the 4, and then, of course, the finals of the Women's World Cup. But there will be no first ever three-peat, the United States out after the loss to Sweden. Becky, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, we can also give you this great offer if you're going to be watching some, whether it's Premier League, Women's World Cup, USL Championship, what have you. A great chance for you to dine and win. You can win a Hisense smart TV and earn a free pizza. Just simply scan the QR code there on your screen or go to JaxUSL.com/free pizza and enter to win a TV and get a free Donato's large 2-topping pizza with a purchase of $10 or more. That offer expires 30 days after your entry, but you will be entered into a chance to win a free smart TV from Hisense. All right, now let's go to some USL news. We've talked in the past about how there might be some promotion relegation at some point with USL Championship, USL League One. Well, a team is sort of making their own version of that. North Carolina FC, a team that was playing in USL, is playing in the USL League One, announcing they're going up.
Yeah, and they're coming back up, right? Because they've rebranded over time. They have the NC Courage that we play in the Super League as well going forward. But it's great for USL Championship because the Raleigh area where they're kind of located at is a mecca for soccer, right? It's a hotbed for youth, college, and then professional soccer. So to have that franchise that's had so much legacy be back at USL Championship, I think a lot of it had to do with COVID period. So I think it only strengthens the league. It strengthens that area of the country of how good they are in soccer. So exciting to see them back in the USL Championship.
All right, let's take a closer look at what's happening around the USL Championship right now, starting with the results from this past week. And Mauricio, you take a look at some of those numbers. The one that has to jump out at you is Miami, a 4-0 victory over El Paso. Miami's going in one direction, El Paso's going in the other right now.
Yeah, and Coach Lewis Neal, that was the assistant coach right at the changeover, has really gotten this team knocking out, and I think they're in rhythm. And I think this result is interesting for two directions because El Paso has been so strong in the last 3-4 weeks, and Miami really hadn't shown a lot of life. So for this result to be as lopsided in two teams, as you mentioned, going in different directions, it's a great result for Miami.
Orange County also with an impressive win, 3-1 away at San Diego Loyal. And when you start to take a look at the standings, you certainly start to see the impact of some of these games. Sacramento Republic still on top in the West, a 4-point edge on San Antonio FC. But look at Oakland Roots making a move up. Look at Orange County making the move up. Now 3rd and 4th, 10 points separating 1st from 4th. That would be a pretty big ask to try to, in the last 9 games, try to get all the way up to the top for Orange County, but they're certainly in great position in terms of the playoff positioning. What else are you looking at in terms of the Western Conference?
Yeah, outside of Sacramento and San Antonio, I think they've been super consistent. It really is the Wild Wild West out there. Between Oakland Roots and to the Phoenix Rising, New Mexico kind of comes into the conversation every once in a while. The movement up and down in between number 3 and number 9 from week to week, it's been incredible. And if you sleep on it for 2-3 weeks, now you see Orange County in 4th place contained. You see Oakland Roots in 3rd place and not too far distant from top of the league. So I think it's been pretty interesting.
Pretty remarkable. Orange County in 4th place, -1 in the goal differential out west. In the East, you've got the Pittsburgh Riverhounds leading the way, 44 points, 5 points clear of the Charleston Battery. Right now, the interesting battle really is for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th because one of those 4 teams is going to wind up going away during the playoffs. And there are some big points to be had here over the last 10 games of the season.
Yeah, and I think the Eastern Conference, I think the quality has been really good and the parity from top to bottom has been really strong. And the teams, 1 through 6 have stayed pretty consistent. A couple movement here and there after a while, but you start seeing now FC Tulsa, Miami FC. But as you mentioned, that top 4 spot is so crucial because that does give you a home game as you go into the playoffs with about 9 to 10 games left into the season.
All right, those are the standings in the East and the West. Let's now take a closer look at our game of the week presented by GOTW, and it's FC Tulsa against Louisville. And this is a game played in Oklahoma, but boy, what a performance and what a result for Louisville. but you took a closer look at this game, not just about the score, but about the performances of these two teams.
Yeah, Cole, I love these two teams, and I love the style that they're going forward. Really, Coach Blair Gavin, first year head coach with Tulsa, and Danny Cruz. I mean, he's a young coach. He's been at Louisville for a couple of years now. But two young coaches that really want to take the game to their opponent. They want to play through the lines. A lot of similarity between the two, really. So this game really came down to who made the least amount of mistakes, which in this case was Louisville, and then who capitalized on their opportunities, which once again was Louisville.
All right, let's take a closer look in our Game of the Week presented by GOTW.
So really starting with Tulsa here, you see playing between the lines, getting the ball out wide, Philip Goodrum getting across into Dyer, great save from Nelson, the goalkeeper, and the game really kind of went back and forth. And you see here now Louisville and White, once again playing through the lines, great combination play in a shot from distance, keepers being called to early in the game.
And a corner in for Louisville.
Yeah, and see, we talk about corners as second phase opportunities. So the first ball gets cleared out, but Louisville stays committed. You can see the back line didn't really come out, and just a great moment play here from the Louisville forward. Gets the ball through and just fights it. Could have been a handball there, but really just fights through the battle, gets it behind on the back post, and our captain Tochi does a great job of keeping the ball alive and putting Louisville up 1-0.
Yeah, that is a tenacious goal to be sure, particularly playing away.
Yeah, and you can see there, once again, probably a handball. Referee give advantage, even though handballs don't have advantage. But Lancaster stays committed to the play and gets the ball in the back post.
All right, now in stoppage time in the first half, Tulsa trying to pull one back.
Yeah, a little bit of the same recipe here. Can we get the ball wide to Philip Goodrum? Can we get a service in? A couple good opportunities into the box, a couple half chances. But first half was pretty even.
Now second half, and Louisville holding that 1-0 lead, but now, as you mentioned, the mistakes coming up.
Yeah, and this is kind of where the mistakes started paying. Hughes comes on, Keegan Hughes, center back, comes off number 15 there on your screen, makes a mistake out of the build-up and gives the ball to Lancaster.
Later, it's an opportunity for Tulsa to try to get on the board at home.
And he gets saved off the line. Same player, center back, comes up, tries to mitigate his mistake, but Louisville does a great job coming off the line.
No VAR on that one, and Louisville takes advantage later in the half.
Yeah, and one of the young players for Louisville here gets on a breakaway, 1-on-1. Wilson, plenty of space, commits the defender, and puts the ball away to make it a 3-0.
Here's another look at it. When you can go away and get a 3-goal lead, you're feeling pretty good about things, and particularly when you're fighting for playoff positioning, and that's the way it ended with Louisville winning our Game of the Week presented by GOTW. Next week, we take a look at Birmingham Legion hosting Sacramento Republic. Sacramento will come east to take on the Legion in an Eastern Conference versus Western Conference matchup. This is going to be an intriguing one to see how Sacramento handles the travel.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's where I put this game on the road. We haven't looked at Sacramento in a while. They're clearly in first place, kind of taking off out on the west, but coming east. Birmingham's a team that's fighting for that top 4 position. Difficult place to play. It's hot over here, the humidity heat in the south, so it'll be an interesting game. Two teams that will contrast each other as well.
If you want to be a part of the USL Championship action or the USL Super League coming to Jacksonville, be sure to go to JaxUSL.com and reserve your season tickets now. Just $25 reserves your season ticket for one of those two teams. You can get them for both as we get closer and closer to the start of pro soccer returning to Jacksonville. For Mauricio Ruiz, I'm Cole Pepper. Thanks so much for watching the JaxUSL Report. We'll catch you next week.